What's going on? Yo, this is Pedo. If you into books, you into reading, you into learning, hearing things that you never heard, stories that you never heard, and learning to work on your mental health to develop it, becoming a better person, a better man, a better son, a better father, follow me, subscribe. Help me get my subscribers up. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Right now, I'm at like 2. But nah, in all seriousness, if you're really into the things that I'm into, follow me. I'm going to be dropping dope content all the time. It's Pedo. Check me out. Follow me. Engage with me. Let me know. Y'all want to read some books, which y'all want to talk about. I'm here. It's Pedo. Let's get it. What's going on, y'all? This is Pedo back with another book review. Today we doing Promised Land by Barack Hussein Obama, our former president of the United States. Great book. The longest book I've ever read by far. Crazy long. The other longest book I've ever read was Will Smith, but this was definitely a dope book. Got a lot of stuff to get into over this book review. This Pedo, let's get it. So one of the main things in this book he talk about is how much of a circus it is to be the president, and how everybody around him treats him different and act a certain way around him because he's presidential, just to show respect. And I love how he tried to humanize this process, starting out the book, going into all of the different staff members, their duties and things they did around the White House, and how he always tried to remember names and greet people a certain way, just how to show respect. So I thought the way he started out the book was very respectful and decent. You feel me? Another thing about this book, you just never know how much work a person put in, because once I was reading this book and I really learned and understood how much work Obama had put in just to get to the place that he was at. I never knew how much work that he had put in prior to becoming even an official or even a politician in general, to be even thought for running for office. Like all of the civil rights movements and everything that he was a part of, and trying to help people with lower income houses and all of this stuff that he was doing. I just had no idea until I read this book and really start learning about him as a man and his family. So definitely worth checking out if you really want to get a better understanding of his background and where he came from. It was dope. Another crazy part of this book was you can tell that Obama is used to fighting for the idea of America, or what we believe the idea of America is supposed to be, instead of what it actually is. And the way that he started it out, you can tell that he's familiar, used to fighting for that idea of it. Now, so many of us, of our color, our customs, and our culture, where we just, kind of lose faith in the idea of what America is supposed to be, because a lot of times, things don't go our way sometimes. But I feel like in this book, he used to fighting for the idea of what it's supposed to be, or what they say that it should be, that quote unquote American dream. But it's definitely interesting when you hear him talk and how much he really believes and how passionate he is about that idea. Now, there's so much stuff in this book. It's so much. He literally covered, I believe it was just the first term. I believe he covered like everything in the first term. And the things that I'm going to speak about and talk about is the things that I thought was funny or interesting. And I'm not going to kill y'all with the whole entire book, because you definitely got to check it out. But I do want to talk about key points that I thought was hilarious in this book. You with me? So early on in his career, he used to have to go from door to door and hand out pamphlets and try to get signatures and get people to sign up and get an idea of what people were dealing with and what they needed to get fixed in their community. So once this politician in Chicago had some sort of legal issues where he couldn't necessarily hold his seat. I think he actually went to jail. I forgot the guy's name, but so Obama had an opportunity to run for that particular position in office, and they were saying, like, look, in order for you to even be, legitimately thought of for this position, you have to go get 700 signatures in the neighborhoods. So that's what he did. He took him and his wife and a couple of people that he knew, and they went to the neighborhood to get 700 signatures in order for him to even be able to be eligible to run for this position. And as he did, he took Michelle with him, and he always big up Michelle, how much better she was at a lot of the stuff that they was doing, and how she would always get along with people a lot better than he was. And he said, like, once they got back in the car, they was leaving from getting all the signatures. He was like, Michelle was like, man, I must love you, because you got me out here on no damn Saturdays, out here getting signatures. Man, I must really love you. I mean, I thought that was funny, because it was like Michelle had some, like, you don't hear these stories if you didn't actually read the book, but it's just funny to me to hear her being annoyed out there trying to, get some signatures on her feet. One thing that was super interesting that he talked about was how he was fighting for these policies for people that were in lower income situations and worse education and bad neighborhoods and things of that nature, and impoverished and losing their houses and stuff of that nature, and predatory lending and all of that. And he was saying like he would try to convince the people to vote so they could change this dynamic, but it really was the people that was in office that he needed to convince. So the people that he needed to convince in order to change these circumstances wasn't the people even living in these neighborhoods, which that, but when you hear it from a certain dynamic or a certain aspect, it really makes you think about it like, wow, that's crazy. The people that is making the rules and regulations and the things for these people in these communities that don't even live there, so they have no idea what's really going on. Just thought it was crazy. So another thing that I thought was interesting was his and Michelle Obama dynamic when it came to him running for office. Now, the first time he ran, I believe he won, but he tried to run for another slot and he ended up losing really bad, but it really hurt them financially. And he spoke on in a lot of detail how financially they was messed up and they didn't have the finances to sustain and pay for schooling and the loans and the lawyers and the credit cards and everything that they was trying to do after he took this loss. But he still had a feeling like he shouldn't give up on his political career. And when he wanted to run again, Michelle wasn't with it. She was like, nah, I'm not going through this, man. I'm not dealing with this. We don't even have the money to take care of what we have now. How you going to do that? And Obama was like, I'm going to sell my book. I'm going to, run for office, and, everybody around us is going to help. But he really believed that he could accomplish it, and he didn't give up. And he ended up winning the next time he ran. He ended up winning. And then the idea of him running for president came up, and Michelle was like, nah, bro, I'm not with this. And the way he explained it was like he understood Michelle's perspective because it really turned their whole life into a zoo. And he didn't want to expose the kids. She didn't want to expose the kids and her lifestyle to everything they was going through because it was such a tumultuous and hard process because there was so many people that was coming up against him so heavy. So if you look at it from a different perspective on how his wife looked at it and what they would have to go through to get there, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy on nobody. So it definitely was a dope conversation or reading about how their interactions was about him running for political office. Another thing that he talked about is like how all these kids in the military are so young and how he was meeting so many of them and how they paying a price for these older politicians' arrogance. And I just thought it was crazy because I got a nephew in the military right now, Zai, what up? And it just really struck a chord for me because he's so young. He just got out of high school. He just figuring out his life. And to be honest, I was not a fan of him going to the military, but at the same time, I am proud of him taking accountability, taking the steps and, taking charge of what he want to do in his life, even though I wasn't necessarily a fan of it. But yeah, when Obama was talking about it, it definitely hit home for me because I do have family that's actively serving. So skipping forward in the book because there's so much in there. A lot of things be funny to me. So he talked about how Hillary Clinton tried to use some of his homework from elementary school to say that this whole idea of him never wanting to be president was BS. And like this was his plan the whole time. So because Obama would take a stand like, I'm only doing this to try to help and improve the presidential campaign was never my goal. And she like, that's BS. See, in elementary school, you wrote a letter saying that you was going to be the president of the United States. That's how we know you full of shit. He was like, really? So I thought that was funny as hell. Another thing that he talked about and was Jeremiah Wright. And he went into detail about it. And when you read it, you'll see what I mean. But I always have a funny relationship with Jeremiah Wright. Not personally, but just from the Boondocks TV show and how they was going in on Jeremiah Wright. But Obama was saying like, he didn't really have an issue with what he was saying, but he just hated the language that he was saying. And he was saying that it also annoyed him that he had to walk back from everything and do the dance so, certain politicians can, get along and get on the same page with him. He just annoyed him a lot. When you read the book, you'll understand what I mean when I say that. It just annoyed him that he had to do the dance in order to just stay in position to get to the presidential campaign or presidential office. So while they was running for the nomination to win the presidential bid to run for president, I'm probably butchering that, but y'all know what I mean. He was talking about how they was winning and everything was going good and they was having a party. One of the guys that run for him or working on his campaign came in there like, yo, man, I think we're going to lose Indiana. And Obama was like, what? He's like, I think we're going to lose Indiana. He was like, man, you a downer. President Obama was like, look, either join us or get the fuck out with all that negativity. So there's a lot of little stuff in there that I thought was hilarious in his book. So yeah, that was funny. Another thing in his book, he talked about how much of a curve John McCain bringing on Sarah Palin as his running mate was such a curveball, and how she had such a great story, and she was from Alaska, and she was like a basketball player, and just all of this great stuff for the typical, Republican Party or whatever. And how she didn't know shit. He was there as time went on and the debates went on, and how every time they would come at him about issues that he had or why he shouldn't be president, they always came at the fact that he was young, he was inexperienced. But when it came to Sarah Palin, they didn't give a fuck. The fact that she didn't even know nothing. He said every time they got into a serious debate and really start rallying and really start getting into deeper issues, she really didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. And he was like, they didn't care. But when it came to him, it was like, oh, he's not experienced and not ready. But when it came to her, they was like, it's okay, she's fine. So yeah, I just thought that was funny. So he talked about all the funny little tricks that people in politics be doing trying to get in office. And he talked about how when he was running against John McCain, that they was trying to pass all these economical bills for the economy, and they was trying to get things passed because the banks was failing and all that kind of stuff. So he was saying that he had an idea to call McCain and them do a joint press conference to get a certain bill passed. I think it was TARP, to get the TARP bill passed, in order to, show support and solidarity. So if it didn't work, that they both had blood on their hands. So he called John McCain like, hey, I think this is a good idea. He was like, okay. And Obama was like, well, let our sides talk. In 45 minutes, we'll call back and, see what what idea we come up with. He said after he got off the phone, 10 minutes later, one of his advisors came to me like, what the hell just happened? He was like, why? He was like, John McCain is doing a press conference right now saying y'all suspending y'all campaigns. Y'all gonna go to Washington and y'all gonna do all this. And Obama was pissed like, yo, I didn't say none of that. Like, okay, I see how you doing. So Obama was like, I'm gonna do my own press conference. So he went and did a press conference like, I ain't suspending nothing. I don't know what he talk about, but I'm still here. I'm still running. And the president need to be able to handle adversity and be able to do press conferences at the same time. So I'm not suspending nothing. I'm going to be running for president, and I'm also going to be handling everything I'm handling. So it's just his way of trying to play John McCain after McCain tried to play him, using it against him, which it ended up backfiring on McCain. But I thought it was hilarious, though. Like, y'all be trying a little slick stuff like that. But they was going back and forth. And I got more stories about that, too. So President Bush at the time called for all the politicians to come to D.C. to try to get, I think it was TARP. Please forgive me if I'm wrong, but this TARP bill passed so they can start funding and help the banks and not drown or whatever. So as they was in the office with President Bush, they asked Obama like, yo, it was President Bush, McCain, and other advisors. And then President Bush asked Obama like, yo, what do you think we should do? And Obama laid out his plan of how we should do it. And he asked him, so President Bush like, I think it's only right if we hear from you, McCain. And McCain was like, nah, I'm good. And he was like, all right. So as they're closing up the meeting, Obama was like, nah, I want to hear what McCain got to say. And McCain stood up and gave like this okie dokie speech. And like, you could tell that McCain didn't really know what was going on or really didn't have a valid plan. And it kind of pissed Obama off. Like, yo, how you out here fighting this hard for these bills not to get passed or to get passed, and you don't know nothing about it? Like, you're really not prepared or as equipped as I am. And it just was kind of annoying and shocking to see that everybody out here struggling so bad, and you really don't even have no sort of capabilities to be in touch with what people are really dealing with, but you trying to pass or deny bills from getting passed. So that was Obama's perspective on it, which I thought was dope and funny. One thing he said that I really didn't know, he was saying that in the White House, the presidents pay for their own groceries and their own furniture. I don't know if y'all knew that, but I had no clue. I thought that was shocking, actually. Like, that's crazy. Like, they pay for their own groceries, their own toiletries, toothbrush, toilet paper, paper towel, and all. I thought that was crazy because I had no fucking idea. The book took some dark turns at times, man, just talking about the reality of being a president of the United States and how the Captain Phillips thing really affected him, having to, get them Somalian kids up out of here the way he did. And he was just talking about how that aspect of being president was his least favorite part, because he wanted to be in there to help communities, help change the policies and the greedy banks and stuff like that. But it also, the security of it was also like number one, and how a lot of times they would have to, get people up out of here. And just the amount of people that he had to get up out of here, and the fact that he had to be one of them people that make that call, was his least favorite part of being a presidency. But even though he say that, and I could tell in this book the longer he was in office, the more comfortable he got with exit people up out of here, if you feel what I mean. So I just thought it was crazy, man, because it's something that I really didn't really think about until just hearing him talk about it and being president, and how that's just a part of the job. It's crazy, right? Another funny part of the book what I thought was hilarious, man, he was talking about, he was trying to get everybody around the world to lower their emissions. And two of the countries that was ducking him was China and Brazil. And they was at like this summit meeting, and he was looking for him, and he only had like 2 hours left before he had to get on the flight. And they was ducking him. So he told Secret Service, like, yo, go find out where they at, man. So Secret Service went around and found out they was like on a different floor in this little small conference room. So he was talking to Hillary like, yo, you want to go crash a party? Hillary was like, let's go. So they went in there, and they went up there, and Obama walked in like, yo, where y'all been at? I've been looking for y'all. And he said all the security stood up like, oh, but he said the way the security stood up, he could tell that they didn't know what to do, because they couldn't really stop him because of who they were, but he wasn't trying to let them go through either. And so the security stood up. It was like, what's going on? So Secret Service was with him too. So he was like, look, either y'all sign off on this bill, or I'm gonna tell these other countries that you're not giving them exactly what you said y'all was gonna do. You're not trying to lower your emissions. You're not trying to help the global economy, and a whole bunch of threats if they didn't sign off on the bill. He said, so one Asian guy stood up and started cussing him out, like going off on him, but he couldn't understand him. So he asked the translator like, yo, what did he say? And one of the top guys in the China political office was like, yo, don't worry about what he said. It's not important. Just sit down. Like, give us the bill. We'll sign off on it right now. So Obama was like, all right, bet. So he got him to sign it right there and left. So they got on the Air Force One when it was like 15 minutes left before they were supposed to leave. And one of his homies, one of the advisors that was on the Air Force One was like, yo, that was some gangster shit you just did. And I thought that was funny as hell too. Like how sometimes you gotta be a gangster in politics. Like, yo, stop playing with me. I'm trying to get this bill passed. I'm trying to get this paperwork signed. Let's get it done. Stop playing with me. So I thought that was interesting as well. Another thing he talked about was how he never felt like he accomplished all of the things that he wanted to accomplish, because there was so much going on. And there's so much stuff in this book. When you read it, you'll see, like, I'm skipping over so much stuff. Because he talked about the financial crisis. He talked about the banks. He talked about the auto industry. He talked about 9/11. He talked about, getting Bin Laden. He talked about Gaddafi. He talked about different raids. He talked about his family. He talked about all other politicians, Joe Biden, John McCain, President Bush. It's just so much in this book. So whenever you get a chance to check it out, it's definitely an entertaining read. You feel me? So overall, what I got from this book, it's just a lot in politics, man, that you really don't take into account, really think about how much of that's still a person and it's still a family, regardless of how you feel or what you think or what you believe or what you don't want. That's still a man, a wife, and two girls as in this political office trying to do their best to improve this country. Well, some anyway. I ain't gonna say all, but he also made me feel like I needed to do more public service, be more of a help to my fellow man. There's a lot of inspirational things in this book, a lot of things that made me want to do better and improve on what I got going on in my life as well, and make me feel like I can accomplish more and want me to get more educated and be more socially conscious and aware of what's going on in this world. So those are definitely some things that I took away from this book. And just how much these political offices sometimes just don't give a fuck. They don't care about what you got going on or how you feel or what you're struggling with. As long as that bottom data get corrected, it's just like, it's really the main thing they only care about. So it's definitely the things that I took away from this book and let me know a lot of these things we got to take in our own hand and really get done, which I do believe we're doing better as a people of taking more control and realizing we have more power than we think. So that's definitely what I got away from this book. It's Peter, another book review. I'm out here.